started, we'd like to welcome Jon Rahm to the interview room here at the 2022 CJ Cup in South Carolina. Jon, you're coming off of your 8th career DP Tour World Tour victory at the Spanish Open, and you're making your PGA Tour season start. Just some opening comments on carrying that momentum into the start of the tour season.
Yeah, it's been nice to, after finishing what hasn't been my best PGA Tour season, even though it's still pretty good, to go to Wentworth, have the Sunday, and then follow it up by playing good in Spain and having a very, very meaningful win. I've said it before, I understand it's not the strongest field, but it's something that means a lot to me, and sometimes controlling myself and the crowd can be a little bit harder. So for me, it was a week to be proud of. So hopefully I can keep that good play going and translate those wins to the PGA Tour, which I've done in the past. I've played great in the fall and European Tour in the past, and I've translated it to the PGA Tour. So I'm excited to be here. Have not played the golf course yet. I saw some of that event they had here last year, and all the feedback I've gotten from the golf course is that it's fantastic and it's in absolute perfect shape. So I can't wait to get out there.
Awesome. And then you're making your second start at CJ Cup. You had a T17 in 2020 at Shadow Creek. What about this tournament that do you love? Just with CJ and the player experience. And
well, to be honest, I've been wanting to go when he was in Korea, but I haven't been able to because of my European Tour commitments. So I'm hoping we go back. It's a country I want to visit, and I've heard the golf courses are great, but it's just a great event, right? When you get a limited field, no cut, you can truly, come Sunday, have a lot of players that maybe they didn't get the greatest start, but you can show up there by Sunday. There's multiple ways of winning. There's very different ways of doing it, and it's a great event. And finishing high up there, getting some FedEx Cup points is great for when we start back up next season in Maui, because this would be my last PGA Tour start of the season.
Awesome. And with that, we'll open it up to questions. We'll go in the front here to Evan.
Great. What if you go back to Spain, when you know you've now done 3 times? Do you feel a little refreshed, a little reinvigorated, a taste of home, and also some success on the course at home?
If anything, I feel more drained than after any other week of the year. It's just more attention, right? Which I understand. They don't see me play all year. It's the only week they get to see me play, and a lot of people go to watch and they want to see me play, and not all of them are golf fans. They're soccer fans, so they treat it like it's a soccer match. So every step I take, I have people yelling at me like I'm running up and down the field when I'm really not. Yeah. So their energy doesn't match where a golf tournament energy could be. So I have to manage that, and the expectations and the media and the autographs. It truly is a week that when I'm done, I'm more tired than any other week.
Just to follow that up, in sort of contrast to that, responding to that pressure, is that good for your game? Like to be able to answer all of that?
Clearly, when there's a lot on the line in my mind, I do good. Apparently, that week I do good. And I've had some great performances in those golf courses, right? That Sunday was amazing, and a few years ago, I had it going as well with the big lead. So I don't know. But there is a sense of refreshment as well. I do play the type of golf courses that you don't usually play on the PGA Tour. Those courses are very old designs. It's the golf I grew up playing. So there is a sense of going back to where it all started for me, right? So it's a weird mix of things. And I think it's good for me and for all of us as players to just play as many different golf courses and as many different tournaments as we can.
We'll move to Doug next.
I find it kind of interesting that of the 4 European Tour events held in Spain this year, they've been won by all Spanish players, 4 different players. And then we have Mallorca coming up this week. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on the general state of talent in your country.
There's a lot of talent. I think a lot of it is as a general norm, I know every person feels like this about their country, but we're proud to be Spanish people, and we're proud to represent Spain. So to be able to play at home is not something that usually happens that often, and they've added some events, and Pablo won in Catalonia, which that's where he's from. Having a great Sunday as well. What Adrian did in Valderrama, it's unbelievable. To shoot 19 under there, even if the conditions are easy, it's unheard of. So hats off to him. I don't know how much of it is the pride of playing at home, how much of it is the larger amount of Spanish players in those events, and how much of it is just wanting to play good with your home. I don't know, but obviously I think all mixed together is what you get. Hopefully there's another Spanish winner this week.
We'll move to Ryan with Golf Channel.
John, you play a bit of more of a worldwide schedule than a lot of top 10 players, but how much time does a top player want or need to have off at the end of a year to feel somewhat refreshed heading into a new
season? It all depends. I think you manage your own time, obviously. I have 3 weeks off after this one, and I can guarantee you next week I will not see a golf course. Right. Plus, in my case, with 2 kids now, it's very easy for me to step out of the golf course. And even being at home, I have plenty of things to do to stay busy. So that's very refreshing at the same time. Last year, I took some time off in the fall, and I really, really enjoyed it. So it would be nice to have, again, something like that. It would be an ideal future, an ideal, let's say, golf schedule in my mind. We would have September on off. That would be amazing. Like every other sport, have a nice break. But I understand golf is different, and you have to work things out. But ideally, yeah, 3 to 4 months off. I don't know if I could do it because I've never done it, but it would be, in paper, sounds amazing. I have no idea. I have no clue. I really don't know. But I'm sure my wife and kids will find something to do very, very soon. I don't think I would stop playing for that long. I mean, maybe 3-4 weeks off, try to have a vacation, but after that, it's just being at home and I can still practice and I can still work out and go to the golf course, but just in the afternoons, just being able to be home and be with your friends on a regular basis, be with your wife and kids on a regular basis at home would be very nice, right? As in right now, I spend a lot more time in hotel rooms than I do in my own bed, so it would be nice to balance the scales a little bit. But at the same time, it's what we sign on to, so I can find time off throughout the year. It's just some year, when the schedule is ever changing, it's hard to find it, but you can find time off.
We'll move to Adam over on the left.
John, I don't know how much you watched of the President's Cup, but I'm just curious, do you think it's an advantage for the U.S. to play in matches like that every year, or do you think it makes Europe more hungry that it's not every year?
I watched quite a bit of it. I really don't know the answer to that question. I couldn't tell you. You can make arguments each way, so I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. The format's a little bit different, and to be quite honest, I don't think the rivalry is quite the same. So I don't know if it helps or it doesn't help. I think it gets to a point where you can burn out the U.S. players a little bit, having to play something every year, when in our case, we get a year off, right? A lot of them, if you play 8 Ryder Cups, you can play 8 President's Cups, so it's 16 years of playing team events. You can end up a little bit burned out. I can see that happening, not that it does, but you can make an argument that is good or bad, so I don't know exactly what the answer would be.
We'll move to Mark in the front.
John, there's a report that the 4 other elevated events for next year are going to be the Waste Management, RBC Heritage, Wells Fargo, and Travelers. Just thoughts on that, and is there any concern that 2 of them are immediately after majors?
Well, until I get an official statement from the PGA Tour, I won't be able to 100% believe it. Now, it could be true. If it is, we'll deal with it. I mean, it is what it is. A lot of people play the weeks after majors. Kelly would be extremely happy because she's wanting to go back to Hilton Head for a very long time, so she'll be happy about that. And the other ones, Travelers, for example, is an event that I love, and I haven't been able to go because usually after that I go to Europe. So, you know, sometimes when the schedule is set and you have to go play, it makes things easier, right? I mean, at least in my mind, it's like, okay, you have to play these events and then you organize the rest, which there's a simplicity to it in that sense. Plus, I mean, you're elevating great events. They're all amazing golf courses. They're all amazing events. A lot of history in all of them, so they're worthy of it. What is it? Yeah, Hilton Head and Travelers after majors. I'm not keen on playing after a major, but I've seen people do it, and I've seen people do well. So there's no reason why you can't.
You had previously expressed some concern about the 20 event commitment. Can you say whether there's been any concessions made, or if you feel better about it now than you did?
Well, a lot of it is going to have to be a combination of discussions with the European Tour for people like Rory and I, where we have those 20 events to play for the PGA Tour, and then you need to add 3 or 4 more with the European Tour, right? Plus the events you want to play. You don't want that number to get too high, and for us to play more golf than we want to play before the Ryder Cup or after the Ryder Cup. You want to have, like Brian was asking, the proper time off as well. So, like I said, I think there's going to be some discussions to be made in that sense. But I also said last year, from Tournament of Champions till East Lake, I played 19 events. Right, I think this will count as one of my 20. It could be very similar to last year, but it won't change. So my schedule's been pretty similar every year. I mean, it's, again, here and there you change some events that you may play and may not play, but the number adds up to the same.
We'll move over to Patrick all the way on the right with CBSSports.com.
Hey, Jon. You've been putting beautifully kind of in your last 4 tournaments in particular. I just want to know, how confident are you on the greens kind of compared to that valley you experienced last spring?
I'm confident. I mean, it's showing. So I've been working on some things, and clearly it's been working. So hopefully I can keep it going this week. Like I said, I've heard this golf course is in amazing shape, and every time you get greens in perfect condition, you're going to need to make a lot of putts. So hopefully I can keep that going.
Any other questions for Jon? All right. Doug?
Just a quick Ryder Cup question. As I've been reading a little bit about, I've seen your thoughts on it, and I understand that, and I've read a little bit about Sergio and how he says he feels unwelcome. As we go forward, however this shakes out, how much of coming up with a European team depends on kind of an open nature, a welcoming nature, if that makes sense? Could that be the key to everything?
I think it's important. So far, the 2 Ryder Cups I've been a part of, once you arrive and you're on that team environment, it's an unusual situation where everybody can be truly themselves with players that they maybe usually are not. So you need to have that welcoming aspect, right? If there's some animosity in between players, it's just not going to work out. Right? Very few teams can succeed when players don't get along. So I don't know if you can really make that happen. Like I've said many times, I want Europe to have the strongest team we can have. Hopefully I'll be in Rome. So I want the best players at the time and the best Ryder Cup players to be there. But if that includes having some bad blood and having some issues, I don't know if that's necessarily a thing, right? Obviously, Rory mentioned there's a lot of young players playing great. And if things can get worked out, obviously these people are going to have a start. That doesn't mean that we don't have a chance. It means we can have a young team, which is not a bad thing. The U.S. last year did okay with a young team, so hopefully we can do the same. Plus, a lot of those young players, a lot of us in Europe have grown up playing for our national team, have grown up playing match play for our national team, playing foursomes, fourballs, and individual matches, and being part of a team, right? So they're already used to the dynamics. It's just experiencing the Ryder Cup, which obviously it's a bigger task.
Last couple here. Gene from the Charleston Post and Courier.
Jon, Phil, a couple days advanced a theory that the PGA Tour is trending downward. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, I love Phil, but I don't know what he's talking about. I really don't know why he said that. There's been some changes being made, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going down, right? I truly don't know why he said that. Don't know. I really don't know. I think there's some great changes being made and great changes for the players in the tour. So I don't know. I truly don't know what drove him to say something like that.
Last one here with Adam.
John, what is it about questions on your putting that bothers you so much?
It doesn't bother me. It's just funny because I know for the most part everybody asking those questions are simply going to my PGA Tour page and say, oh, he's 140th in putting, and have no correlation to the rest of the year and don't know what as a player feels, right? Earlier on the year I had a million questions on my ball striking being amazing where my iron game felt atrocious. I was hitting a lot of greens, but I was hitting it at 40 feet, so obviously I'm not going to make a single putt, right? So there's a lot of correlation to other stats that might say you're putting good or bad or doing some good things. So when I get a lot of questions about that, it's funny to me. It's
what is the biggest change you made? You said you made some changes.
Honestly, it's a little setup thing. It's a very small, and a lot of it with putting is confidence, right? When you see a lot of putts not go in, a lot of putts burn the edge, which is what happened earlier in the year. It's not like I wasn't close. I just saw a lot of lip outs and a lot of close calls. Confidence can go down a little bit, but I think it was at BMW where after 27 holes I saw 3 putts go in and confidence went right back up, and for the next few events I've putted amazing. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Was that Saturday at BMW?
No, it was Friday. Friday when I was, I think, at 5 or 6 over and played an amazing back nine and an amazing weekend. I mean, my ball striking is so good that my putting is never going to be really that high up there statistically. And if I kept this ball striking level and my short game and putting was as well top 20 in the PGA Tour, well, we would be looking at a season where I'm winning 8 times, and that's just very hard to do.
All right, with that, appreciate the time as always, John. Good luck this week.
Thank you.